What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today's shirt says, let's gossip to get our heart rates up. If you are into reality merchandise, like famous quotes like that, this one is from Sex and the City. So it's also pop culture in general. Make sure to head over to my website, realitymerch.com, to get your hands on t-shirts, sweatshirts, and other merchandise like that. So today's story is about Kailyn Lowry. She did a podcast episode that really made my jaw drop. I listened to it before I went to Greece for vacation, but I didn't have the time to recap it. And I noticed that I haven't really heard anything about it, which really surprises me considering what it is that she said in this podcast. It was a very true crime themed podcast. And so Kail says that she started creating like a kit, like, you know, if I ever go missing, if something ever happens to me, kit, like with DNA, suspects, etc., etc. So she says that if she ever goes missing, she knows for a fact that her 3 baby daddies would be considered suspects because, you know, that's how it always works. Your current or your past lovers or whatever are always the prime suspects whenever something happens to you. And she says that she would like to go on the record to preemptively rule Joe out as a suspect. So I was like, okay, that means that their relationship is good. She doesn't believe that he would harm her, but that does leave the other 2 open to criticism, right? Javi and Chris. She's basically telling us that they have the potential to harm her. I'm not surprised as far as Chris goes, you know, considering how recent their relationship is. And it was just a couple of months ago in April that Kail's charges for, you know, allegedly assaulting him were dropped. So like that made sense. But Javi, I thought that things were water under the bridge with the 2 of them. So that was quite interesting. She continued on to talk about how she's developed a paranoia of being offed, you know, partly because of the television show that she participates in and how much people hate her from the show. I would have been interested to see her talk a little bit more about home security. You know, does she live in a gated neighborhood, this new home that she's building? I hope it is in a gated community. I hope that it's got security cameras. I hope that it's got a lot of other things that can protect her from this. One thing that I have to point out, and I find it quite interesting that she didn't point that out, you know, as a public figure, is that people don't have to hate you for them to harm you when you are a public figure, right? You know what happened with Selena? It was a fan who had done that to her. There was also a YouTuber who was also a singer, Christina Grimmie, that was a deranged fan who had harmed her. There was also a news anchor in a small American town who, you know, had met a similar fate, someone who was just so obsessed with her. They were stalking her. They loved her so much. And they were also mentally off. You know, they ultimately wound up tracking her down and doing her harm, ending her life at the end of the day. So, you know, I think that that is just something to watch out for in general when you are a public figure. And that's what makes me so nervous about these people being so open about their children as well. Like, we haven't seen it happen to children of famous people, thank God. But the thing is that this whole reality culture or like web famous people thing is still very, very new. So we don't really have much to compare it to quite yet. At least celebrities and celebrity children, they have access to gated communities. They have access to bodyguards, things that these reality TV people and their children do not have. And that makes me quite sad. And when I say reality TV people, I'm not talking about like the Kardashians, you know, who are like the A-list of reality TV. I'm talking about like these girls who make a good amount of money, but not enough and don't have enough fame to justify that level of spending and protection. If you get what I mean. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly. Anyway, getting into the real nitty-gritty of the podcast that I wanted to talk to you about, she levied a lot of very serious accusations against who I'm assuming is her 3rd baby daddy, Chris Lopez. She talks about going to trial to try to get a judgment against one of her baby daddies, but was denied. And the reason that I thought it was Chris was because she said that she was trying to get a judgment in response to something that she did. She was like, you know what I did was only retaliatory. Like, you know, it was reactive abuse, you know, against all of the alleged abuse that I had been suffering from. And so what story does that remind you of, you know, involving her in recent times, other than the time that she was charged for allegedly assaulting Chris over him cutting Lux's hair, right? So she says, you know, there are 15 factors that judges look for when it comes to trying to convict things like this. And even if somebody is verbally abusive, manipulative, and a narcissist, they won't count it. And she says that it's because it's so hard to prove. But it's also because, listen, Kail, you are a reality star with a communications degree. You don't know for certain whether or not this man is a narcissist. You do not have the educational background to diagnose him. So it's a bit unfair to the legal system for you as somebody with no, medical background to diagnose people, complaining that the court won't do something against your narcissistic ex who has not been diagnosed as such. In this story, she claims that she was standing for trial and trying to explain everything that happened leading up to her reaction. And she said there was a lot of verbal abuse, there was a lot of manipulation, there was a lot of name calling, degradation, and she also mentioned the narcissism again. But she said that the courts did not care about those things because she could not prove them. And I really empathize with her and other women in these situations. It is very true when it comes to verbal abuse and stuff like that. Unless you've got a witness, it is damn near impossible to prove unless you've recorded it too. But then again, in a lot of states, countries, provinces, territories, whatever, it is illegal to have like one party recording. So you're also not even able to do that to help prove your case. Unfortunately for Kail, the only tangible thing in this entire trial was the fact that she had assaulted Chris Lopez, allegedly, of course, and that there were witnesses there to back that story up. And that's why she was ultimately the one who was charged with it. Sure, the charges has since, I think, been dropped, or she's reached some kind of settlement with them, but that is what it wound up with. And she's very frustrated that she was not able to properly explain why she ultimately did that. She's like, this wasn't something that I did out of the blue. And then she goes a little bit further back into her history with who I'm presuming is still Chris at this point. And she claims that a judge literally told her that she needed to get a PFA against this person. It could have been Chris, it could have been Javi, it could have been Joe. Remember, she was getting PFAs against everybody. Maybe she's got one against me too. I don't know. I haven't checked yet. But, for the purpose of this story, I think it was Chris. And she says that a judge told her that she needed to get this PFA against him, and that the judge said that it wasn't a matter of if Chris would KILL her, but when Chris would KILL her. And so here's what I'm wondering, and it's not me doubting anything. I do think that Chris is a bad person, and I do believe that he probably was abusive to her. But here's my question. If a judge told you needed to get a PFA against this person for this purpose, I feel like that would be in the notes, right? Like, don't they have notes? Judges take notes of cases that they preside over. And so would that not have helped her prove her case against him when she was standing trial, or in defense of herself when she was standing trial, for allegedly punching him over cutting Lux's hair? Remember, she said that she couldn't prove the verbal abuse, she couldn't prove the manipulation, she couldn't prove the narcissism. But she's also saying that in another case, and this is a case that happened before, she had the PFA before this happened, Chris actually got a PFA against her this time. And I think that's what she's talking about, actually, now that I think about it. She was trying to defend herself against Chris having a PFA against her. I think that is what she's talking about. But would she not have the notes from her original PFA to lean on? If you guys work in the legal field, definitely let me know, because you guys know a lot better than me, especially if you are in America. Again, I'm a Canadian now living in France. This is very far out of my realm. But yeah, it's all very, very interesting. I'm personally curious about why the judge's note in regards to Chris allegedly having motive to KILL her and the ability to do it was not taken into consideration when she was trying to defend herself, and saying that, listen, I was suffering a lot of abuse at this point, right, you guys? Make sure to let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Oh, by the way, she also said that they shot the Teen Mom 2 reunion for the season back in May. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.